Welcome to all. I'm Melissa Burrows, the Faculty Diversity Officer in the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity. It's so nice to see each and every one of you. Welcome to all, and thank you for coming today to the graduation ceremony of Train the Champion 2013. Congratulations to all. You are part of a group that represents a broad cross-section of careers and interests here at the university. The Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity recognizes your commitment and excellence in learning about diversity in the workplace and within our communities. Thank you for your participation and willingness to challenge your own assumptions and broaden your knowledge. I'd like to pause for just a second and say to you, this is the third class of Train the Champion, and you all were the most vocal of all the groups. That's a wonderful thing, right? Because what happens is, and you started early on, which we recognize in January. So you started the conversations early on, and you've been able to carry them to the present day today. Now, of course, the most important part of all of this is to continue the conversations beyond today. So we recognize that piece as well. So you've lived up to our aim of the program, and we know that you will continue to exhibit the following: fostering of an environment that embraces diversity, assisting with retention and recruitment of faculty, staff, and students, encouraging overall workplace satisfaction, and then also fostering a sustained dialogue on inclusion and diversity with a specific focus on issues in higher education, especially here at Case Western Reserve University. So again, thank you for your commitment and involvement in the program. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our VP of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity, Dr. Marilyn Sanders Mobley.
Good morning, afternoon, or whatever it is. And I'd like to say thank you to Melissa and Melissa Burrows and Robin Strong. They have been working so very, very hard. So I am so grateful for their work and their persistence in working with you all. And I'm just so happy to see you all. You represent now what I want to say part of our signature program. There's one thing of doing the work, it's another thing of having something that rises to the level of being called a signature program. And so you are part of that as our third cohort. We're so proud of you. And I want to add to what Melissa said, we believe you are change agents. We think you came here because you already were. We think this was an opportunity to deepen your knowledge. And we now see you as resources for our campus. We see you as thought leaders for our campus. The only thought leaders are not in the OEDO office or in the vice president office, but they're now dispersed. That's why we so care about this initiative. And Melissa used the word sustain, so I want to just point out one guest before I introduce our guest speaker. With us today is Amy Lazarus. Amy, could you please stand? Amy Lazarus is our liaison for our own Campus Sustained Dialogue Campus Network. She's the executive director here from DC. She met this morning with President Snyder, Provost Bazelak, and our VP for Student Affairs, Lou Stark, and we met to learn about it, and now she's meeting with groups on campus today. So we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you are here to witness some of our work. This is boots on the ground work that we've been doing with this group. And I'm so happy to have a dear colleague and friend as our keynote speaker. Your program has her bio. I already told Charmaine I won't read her bio because it's just not my way to read it, but I hope you have read it. And I just want to highlight a couple things. Of course, Charmaine Brown is Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Forest City Enterprises. As the Chief Diversity Officer there, she's engaged in a great deal of work with that company and their diversity and inclusion strategy. She joined Forest City in November of 2004, and one of the things that she's done is met with some of us on campus. In addition to Robin and Melissa, she's also met with Alfie Walter in corporate relations, because part of the work in our office is community outreach and community engagement. And in our work with Charmaine, we learned about some of her initiatives at Forest City, some of which are in your program. One of her initiatives is the REAP program. We were really excited to hear about that. Those of us who've moved to this area or know about challenges that other people have had in moving to this area and that corporations have moving to this area, it's important to have a program like her REAP program. I'm saying it's yours. The REAP program is a real estate associate program that's one of the diversity initiatives at Forest City. So sometimes when we live in a community and we hear a huge company name, we don't always know what their diversity and inclusion initiatives are. So we're so grateful for the opportunity for her to share some of what Forest City has been doing, and for her to be able to speak to you about our work here at Case Western. The last thing I wanted to share before I ask her to come up is just recently she received another award. So some of us saw this in our inboxes. This is the first time I think I've missed recently the Women of Color Foundation, but Charmaine just received a very wonderful award named after Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who is dear to our heart here at Case Western Reserve University. And Charmaine received the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Courage Award honoree. She was the honoree this year, just 2 weeks ago, I think. And so she's a person whose work we value in the community. One last thing I wanted to share, she had the bright idea, okay, don't be embarrassed. She had the bright idea that some of us in the area who are chief diversity officers should meet occasionally and share ideas, share innovations, share challenges and issues. And so we occasionally meet as chief diversity officers. Even though we are in higher ed here and she's in the corporate arena, there are lessons learned that we can share. And so we believe today is one of those moments that one of our corporate partners right here in town took time out of her busy schedule to come meet with you. So please help me give a warm welcome, a warm Case Western welcome to Charmaine Brown.
All right, so is it good morning now or good afternoon? No? Still morning? Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I mean, this is an exciting day, isn't it? Oh, wow. So I want to thank Dr. Mobley. Am I talking way too loud?
Yeah, it's getting static.
Okay. I have a big mouth anyway, so I want to thank Dr. Mobley and Robin and Melissa from the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity for inviting me here today. I'm actually really honored that they even thought enough of me to ask me to come and talk to each of you. I got to tell you, this is such a great opportunity that I think Case Western Reserve really needs to be applauded for its efforts in creating this Team of Champions program. I was telling Meryl, as I call her, that, you know, I'm a little jealous because about 5 years ago, I tried to pitch this idea to Forest City, and we just weren't ready. So it's so great to see that this concept has really taken legs and really has created what I think is going to be a phenomenal opportunity for Case Western and for all of you and for all the folks that you serve. So let me tell you a little bit about this space of diversity. You know, I did my homework and I actually went online and I saw the Advancing Diversity Strategy. And I want to tell you, as Teams of Champions, all of you are now held accountable. You are now part owners of executing the strategies. And so I learned on the website a couple things. That your Advancing Diversity strategic plan calls for improved campus climate related to inclusion, increased retention and recruitment of students, faculty, and staff at all levels, and enhancing the leverage of university resources to advance diversity and inclusion. I got to give a round of applause to the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity for leveraging all of its resources, because in this space, It is so critically important to have so many hands, so many people, so many processes, so many things involved in this process. I will tell you from my years at Forest City, and I just celebrated 9 years on Friday, it has been an interesting journey, and one that used to really be an individualized process. And what do I mean by that? When you thought of diversity and inclusion at Forest City, aside from our core values, which diversity is one, Charmaine Brown's name was synonymous with diversity and inclusion. And while I gotta tell you, I've reaped the benefits of it, having been acknowledged in the community and my name is relatively branded as such, that wasn't good enough for me. I needed more people involved. I needed this to be an organizational effort, not an individualized effort. So think about what you all are here today to celebrate is this collective process. All of you will be involved. All of you should be involved. I think the fact that you've spent 11 months engaging in this process tells me that this is important to all of you. So I applaud you and I thank you, not just from CASE's perspective, but certainly from the community's perspective. So let me share a little bit about myself before I hopefully share some enlightening and reinforcing topics and notions with you. I'm a graduate of Michigan State University, go Spartans. But I actually graduated with a degree in kinesiology, the study of movement. And one of these days, I'm actually going to figure out how the study of movement applies to this notion of inclusion and diversity. I'm sure it's somewhere. We've got researchers in the room, right? That might be something to consider. But I've been in the diversity and inclusion space for 15 years, but I've got to tell you that there's been a lot of pivotal moments in my life that I could probably say I've always been in diversity for my almost 41 years of existence on Friday. So, when I think back, and I can tell you a million family stories about how my grandparents migrated from the South, and my grandmother is Choctaw Indian, and she Irish and African, and all the stories I could tell you about my grandparents' migration here to Cleveland and how my grandmother, in order to find a job, would have to pass for white. I could tell you all those stories, but I'm not going to get into those. But what I will say to you is that in high school, I think I started to really find my passion and my interest in this area of diversity and inclusion. I was a part of a group called Student Group on Race Relations, or SCORE. Are there any more SCORE people in the room? Amy's a SCORE member, right? Okay. And at that time, and I went to Shaker Heights High School, and what we found was that fifth graders, when students entered into fifth grade, that's when you started to see the separation where African Americans were sitting with African Americans in the lunchroom and Caucasians were sitting in the lunchroom with Caucasians. But before that, everybody was playing together. There were no boundaries. There were no issues. And so as a high schooler, we would go in and do team building activities, probably similar to a lot of what you went through in your experience, but just at a fifth grade level. And I found a lot of energy and passion in that. But still, I wanted to go into the medical profession. So I went to college, Michigan State University, if I hadn't said that before. And, I majored in kinesiology, if I hadn't said that before. And, I also was a resident assistant because I was out of state and tuition was expensive. And I was first college generation. So student loans were really important to me and my parents. And so I became a resident assistant. And being in campus life, you know that part of the responsibility of a resident assistant is not just this conflict resolution, which helped me big time in my human resources experience, but also programs that we would put on. And guess what? Guess where all of my programs were in? race relations, cultural sensitivity, community efforts. And looking back on it, that's when I really started to find out who I was and what I wanted to be. Even though I still at the time thought I wanted to be an occupational therapist, but I felt like this is something that was very, very passionate to me. And then when I got out of college and I started working at a therapy company, I started to realize that there was more to this work that I wasn't being fulfilled. And so I started working at a staffing firm, Kelly Services. Remember Kelly, girl? But I actually sold staffing services. And it was really my entree into this world of human resources. I left there after about a year and went to work for the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. And at that time, the Urban League had a 4-fee staffing service called Real Source Management Consultants. And I will tell you, of all the things that I had done up until that point, I finally felt like this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Because my role was to place minority business professionals in the banks. I was a headhunter, but my specialty was working with people of color and finding opportunities and creating opportunities for them. And so after about less than a year, you know, when you're good at stuff, people notice and you get recruited. And so I left and went to Charter One Bank, the old Charter One Bank, you know, not the Royal Bank of Scotland, Charter One. And I will tell you, having an amazing mentor who actually also was the chief administrative officer of the bank allowed me to get involved in this work of diversity management. And I spent a couple years working with our executives on figuring out what does good look like for the bank. And it was one of the best experiences I had. I also had this role in compliance. And those of you who know anything about compliance, when the Department of Labor comes knocking on your door to do an audit, and it lasted like 18 months, I really earned my stars and stripes. But what it allowed me to do was to affirm the fact that this is exactly what I needed and wanted to do with my career. When you start to see the data, when you start to see the qualitative and the quantitative measures, that there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance in how you hire people. There's an imbalance in how you promote folks. There's an imbalance in how you develop people. And there's an imbalance of people leaving your organization. And I've often said that this work, while we call it diversity and inclusion, it really is about reputation and relationship management, right? Think about that. I don't care what happens. If you go out into the community and you bring people into your home, because Case is your home, right? Well, one of your homes. You get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Okay. And they have a bad experience. And they feel like they can't be a contributor and a valuable asset to the organization that you chose them to come to and they also chose to be here, then what happens? They leave, and we talk, and whoever the we is, right? The we could be, you know, different geography. The we could be race, it could be gender, all the typical dimensions of diversity that I know you've all kind of experienced through this journey. And they go out and they talk. And the last thing you want is for your organization to be recognized as a company that doesn't want them or us. And so when I think about this work, it's really relationship and reputation management. And so I do what I do to try to manage that for Forest City. And quite truthfully, all of you are representatives of Case now. It's your reputation that's on the line, right? So I say all of that to say that, you know, the work that I have, or the journey that I've taken thus far, has been incredible. And I have had the peaks and the valleys. I've been with Forest City for 9 years. How many of you know who Forest City is? Okay, so let me tell you guys a quick little story. Back in 19, as a young child, my parents would take me to Forest City lumber stores. I couldn't stand it. Why? Because they didn't have toys. They didn't have playgrounds, you know. I didn't know anything about Forest City other than these lumber stores. And when I got the opportunity to explore an opportunity at Forest City, one of the things that really captivated me and made me realize that this was an organization that I wanted to be at was not just because of those amazing Ratners that started this business almost over 90 years ago, but the aspiration that they had for really living out this core value that they established before I even came on board of diversity and inclusion. And they wanted so desperately to, as I always say, take it off of the shame list, because it wasn't an area that they really operationalized, as we call it. And so the reason I came to Forest City and the reason that I still stay, even though, you know, I'm a high achiever, we're not where we want to be. And I think most organizations, even those that are doing well, will say they're not where they want to be. But as long as you're making progress, things are, you know, change takes time. But I have really enjoyed being there. And what I've been charged with doing is executing on strategies around talent, culture, and marketplace. And it's taken me quite a bit of time for the organization to understand that it's not just about going out and getting people. And that this is not a check in the box kind of process. This is about culture change. This is about making sure that you're creating the right environment so that you can get the best out of everybody. And making sure that what you don't have represented, you do. Why? Not because it's the right thing to do or it's the feel-good thing. It's because it impacts your business. We build communities where people live, work, and shop and experience life together. If that's not enough of the business case, then I don't know what is. And so I have had the great privilege and opportunity of being a part of this, what we call a family. And I gotta tell you, they are a family. I mean, you know, Marilyn talked about the honor that I received a couple weeks ago. I had 30 people from Forest City, executives. Albert Ratner was there. You know, it is really a phenomenal place to be. And I understand and I know that you all would not be at Case if you didn't feel that way about your organizations. So having said all of that, about a year ago, let me back up, because what happens is this work of change management is, it's like a roller coaster ride. It ebbs and flows. You have your peaks and your valleys. Why? Because you're dealing with people. You're dealing with their value systems. And you're trying to match that up with the value systems of the organization. And a mentor of mine told me a long time ago, and I've actually shared this a number of times with folks, that every well-run organization deserves a well-lit exit sign. Think about it. If people are not behaving and acting in the manner in which is going to help drive success, and they're not modeling the behaviors that we expect people to, well, there's the door. Or if you don't like the fact that we talk about diversity and inclusion and that it is a strong business key driver and we can leverage our differences to create significant value, if that's not something that you ascribe to, there's the well-lit exit sign, right? So I have to remind people that sometimes, but ever so often, because I'm human, Marilyn, Robin, Melissa, we're all human. And we're all kind of still at times struggling with our own perspective of life. Even though our goal is to help support the organization, sometimes we need a little support too. And so I have a dear, I wouldn't even call her a colleague, but our general counsel, Jerry Presti, is probably one of the most amazing women that I've ever met, and she has been such a supporter of mine. So about a year ago, I was having a valley, and she gave me this book. I don't know if any of you have ever read Be the Miracle, 50 Lessons for Making the Impossible Possible by Regina Brett. And actually, I think she's a local person. She also wrote the New York Times bestseller, God Never Blinks. While there's a lot of references in the book to God and spirituality, I do find that there's a lot of, I take a lot of her lessons to heart, and it helps me as I kind of go through some of these challenges. And finding the motivation and the inspiration to continue to do the work is something that this has really helped me with. So I'm going to share 3 lessons with you. And if you didn't hear anything else, this is the only 3 things I want you to take away from this. Hopefully you heard a few more things, but you know. So, because you're going through this journey and you're going to continue. It doesn't stop today once you graduate. Actually, it is just beginning, okay? You're going to walk out of here seeing the world and seeing your organization very differently, and your experiences with people you're going to view those experiences very differently now that you've gone through this process. So lesson 1, start where you are. Start where you are. So there's this old saying that if you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never been in a tent with a mosquito. Right? Okay. You're not mosquitoes, you're not the pesky little insect. But think about that. I think oftentimes we think that we really can't make a difference. And honestly, we have the power and the ability within our own sphere of influence. So think about that. Start where you are. You can make the difference. Lesson 16. If you can't be the rock, be the ripple. Think about that. So I kind of think that CASE, to me, reflects the rock. They've invested in the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity. They've invested in bringing on a Chief Diversity Officer and a staff. They've invested in the community by saying this is extremely important to us. They've invested in all of you by you being here. So I'd like to think that maybe they were the rock. You don't need to be the rock. Just be the ripple. Be the ripple. Spread the news. Spread the principles and practices that you've learned through this process. Some of you are actually going to do small things, and some of you will actually do big things. But everything you embark upon, whether it's encouraging inclusive behaviors or interrupting negative ones, can create a ripple effect in this community. So that's part of what we expect of you, and I think I say that correctly, right? Lesson 37, and again, there are 50 lessons in here, but 1, 16, and 37. And I will tell you that lesson 37 is one that I use often. We have launched a number of our employee resource groups, or as we call them, associate resource groups. And we go through a design process, and that design process is big picture thinking, and it's, you know, what does this group want to stand for in concert with our company's strategic plan. And I use this all the time to get people to think about how powerful the idea of the collective is. And that is, empower your power by joining forces. Think about that. Empower your power by joining forces. And so here's what lesson 37 says. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start. I have to remind myself that I might not have the power to make a world of difference in a small place where I live and work. I just need to tap into the power I do have. And if that's not enough, I can combine it with the power of others, and amazing things happen. Isn't that deep? Every time I read it, it gives me chills because I know for myself when I am in this space, and yeah, I am resource poor. I don't have a huge staff. I have to rely on the community. I have to rely on my peers. I have to rely on my networks to help push this work through. So the power of the collective is really, really important. And I believe that the team of champions reflects this power, the power of this statement. It can be a lonely role at times. And it's really important that you find and maintain a network of support of individuals who are similarly passionate as you are. Oftentimes than not, our peers and our colleagues don't share our perspective. And it is in these times that you may be the lone person challenging the status quo, because that's also what this work is about. It's not being fearful of expressing yourself and going against the status quo. Know that you now have a team of supporters. And it's not just the, how many, 27? But you've got 60 other people, the last 2 cohorts. So there is now a whole team of you that you can rely on and be there to support one another as you help to support CASE in its efforts. Lastly, my advice to all of you is to get very comfortable with the business and the academic case for diversity and inclusion. Because as you're out there as champions talking about this work, you need to know what you're talking about. It's really important. Some people can be convinced in different ways. Some are compelled by the rightness of the journey, and others are compelled by the rightness of the actual goals. So you have those that ascribe to the theory and the principle, and you have those that need to see it in hard dollar signs and numbers. And you need to be able to flex your style and your approach to be able to get them to understand what's the value. And so, in closing, I really appreciate all of the time that you've invested in not only helping CASE, but really, and I hope that you recognize this, that as you've gone through these past 11 months, you've learned a lot about a lot of different dimensions of diversity and challenges and opportunities. But I am really hoping that you, out of all of this, you've learned the most about yourself. Because this work is not work that works well if you don't know who you are, how you view the world, and how you make the decisions around your views and your perspectives. And so I congratulate all of you for investing the time. I want to wish you well as you continue on this journey, because trust me, it's a journey. And you didn't just get sheep dipped into, now you're diversity experts, so don't think that you have to be an expert, but just know that you've got a support system of folks that you can rely on. And I wish you so much success. And hopefully one of these days, CASE and Forest City can do some good, more work together. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much, Charmaine, for your words and for helping us congratulate this cohort. So now we are going to give you something. So I'm not going to read each plaque except by name, but let me just tell you what they say. This acknowledges, and you can think of your name, has successfully completed Train the Champion class of 2003, November 19, 2013, helping to foster diversity and inclusion in the workplace and beyond, from the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity. So we'll start with Anita Banks. Our next recipient couldn't be here, Tom Bassett, and he left remarks. He does have comments.
So unfortunately, he could not attend, but he writes, Dear Train the Champion colleagues, I'm very proud to be a part of this year's graduating class, and I would like to congratulate everyone on a job well done. I had a wonderful time building many relationships and getting to know more about each of you. CWRU in general, and of course the Train the Champion diversity initiatives, along with the compassionate mentors and the many sensitive presenters. My main takeaway from these sessions were coming to realize that individuals create organizational excellence and not the material things associated with an organization, such as buildings, policies, legends, myths, and statistics. Before these sessions, I was ignorant in two areas. One, assuming that I knew others' expectations and needs, and two, treating others the same regardless of their obvious differences. We now have a chance to jump on the bus and create a diverse culture of trust, mutual respect, sensitivity, and further integrate this shared commitment to do a better job of practicing human inclusion. Won't you please join me on this bus? I feel strongly that this is headed in the right direction. I love sports and sports quotes, and one of my favorite quotes was from John Wooden, the all-time great legendary basketball coach of UCLA, who said, "Don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do." Congratulations, and I hope to see all of you on campus sometime soon. Very truly yours, Tom Bassett.
Lisa Board McShepherd. Brandon Bowman.
I would just like to say, since we were able to bring guests with us, and I just wanted to acknowledge Chuck Rosick, who's the Dean of Graduate Studies and my boss, and on pretty short notice was lit up by the prospect of coming here and being with me for this, and I just want to say, Chuck, I really appreciate it.
Lindsay Coleman. Morel Corridor Highland. Karen Dunn.
I just want to say it's been a true pleasure the last several months being a part of this group. And I was talked into applying for this through a colleague of mine, and she said it will really challenge you to think beyond your comfort zone, and it has absolutely done that. And sometimes not even in a comfortable way, but really examining yourself. And it's just been a real privilege getting to know all of you, and just really some wonderful people throughout this university. And I also would like to thank my supervisor, Derek Humphrey, for joining me today. He has been extremely supportive, and I'm hoping that he may apply for a future class down the road because it has been such a great experience. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Michelle Brown. Bonnie Copes. Jean Farah.
I hope that our paths cross one day here at Case, and I look forward, and I really enjoyed working with each and every one of you. This was a great program. And I do have to thank my manager for joining me today and for supporting me throughout this program, Joan Langen. Thank you.
Judith Gilchrist.
It was a pleasure to meet all of you and put a face to the names that I talk to every day. And I'm really going to miss coming here each month and getting a good meal and also sharing experiences.
Nora Hennessy.
I would really like to thank Marilyn and Melissa and Robin and all the folks who are part of this, because I think that this was such a great opportunity, and I'm grateful that I could be part of it. So thank you so much, and it was so good to be able to come together with so many of you and do so in a safe environment and explore questions that all of us had. And I just am so grateful for that opportunity. This is a really terrific program, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Darlene Hill Khalid.
I don't have much to say. I just want to say that it was a pleasure meeting all of you. And as Judy mentioned, it's good to put the names with the faces that we speak with over the phone. I'm really good friends with Judy now. Well, then we know why. No. Oh, right. And Robin and Melissa, you guys are the best. You've been really supportive, and I appreciate that. And Dr. Mosley, I will look forward to working with you in the future. Okay, very good. Okay.
Tamara Young. Is it Young? Kristen Collins.
Thank you. It's been wonderful getting to know you all, and this has been a very enlightening and insightful experience. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Jennifer Marzan.
I really want to thank you guys for sharing this experience with me. I really want to thank Robin and Melissa, because you guys are like awesome. I'm also part of Lead Diversity now, and it's like Train the Champion on steroids. So I'm all diversity. And I wanted to thank my new director, Naomi Say, and welcome her to CASE. And thanks for being here today.
Diane May. Catherine McNeil. Laura Morello. Susan Riker. Michelle Safur. Beth Sursick.
I have a handout, believe it or not, for the people in our group. So if you would at the end, I'll probably just put them on the table. But there are some comments that, or some references that I wanted to share that might yield some discussion or thought processes for you. And the sports quotation that was included, just, I actually have something printed, but I'll veer a little bit. I recently read a book which was about the New York Marathon, and at the end, the author says, the medal is your invitation to tell a story. And I think our plaques and our course are an invitation for us to tell a story about what we've learned here and share it with everybody on campus and in our community. Participating in Train the Champion has been a highlight of my year. Voltaire wrote, "Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well." This year has reinforced for me why I have remained in my work and in my home community. In my application to the program, I wrote, "I seek to gain skills that promote sensitivity to people's differences, but also promote recognition of people's common ground. How do we celebrate the individual as well as share a community? How do we foster respect?" I believe that respect begets respect, and to borrow some words from one of our sessions, and reflective, honest conversations where individuals are attentive and present are needed. Thank you to each of you in our graduating class for participating in just such conversations. Thomas More wrote, "We need people in our lives with whom we can be as open as possible. To have real conversations with people may seem like such a simple, obvious suggestion, but it involves courage and risk. Thank you for the risks taken and the courage shown. It is my hope we go out and practice what we've learned. There's still work to be done." Thanks.
Yolanda Stiggers.
Very enriching experience, and I see this as a very valuable program, and I appreciate the support that we all shared among each other, and very much appreciate the support my supervisor, Frida Mosby, has given me. She was very for me participating in this program, and I thank her for that.
Rebecca Weiss. Sherry White.
I wanted to just show what this plaque represents. You know, think about all the programs we may go through at Case and give us a piece of paper. This is a medal, you know, and this is what this represents to me. So thank you so much. I feel so empowered, and I'm gonna get busy. People may not like me, but I'm gonna get busy, so thank you.
I just want to say congratulations again, and the work in our office couldn't get done without our executive aide, Kim Yurchik, and without Janetta Hammock, our diversity program manager. So even though they are not directly connected to this program, they are connected to everything we do. So, and Obi, and Obi Oku, where's Obi? In the corner. Where is Obi? Oh, there he is. Obi Oku is our recent member of our team, and Obi is our diversity strategic initiatives manager. So without them, we couldn't do this work. So could all three of my other folks please stand and give them a hand? They don't want to stand. Okay, Obi, you have to stand. Anyway, congratulations to you all.